Hi again, everyone. We are back for part 2 of Adoption Talk, which this part's going to be a little bit more fun, but very interesting, and I'm going to try not to get emotional, and Toby's here again. You want to say hi, Toby? No? Okay. He's going to go outside barking. So, we're going to start this one off on when I was talking about my relationship with my husband and how we met. I mentioned how I got pregnant. Well, let's pick up kind of where that was. I got pregnant back in 2015 in July is when I found out. And we decided that we were going to stay together, well, from about July 20th to about August 8th. I pretty much made my mind up on a lot of different things. At the beginning, I was completely set that I was going to keep this baby. I didn't care what was going to happen. We were going to keep it. Even if it means that we are scraping pennies, keeping it. I always wanted a baby. So bad. And then time progressed. And whenever anyone finds out they're pregnant, from what I could tell and what I've seen, you may be like, whoa, like in that shock moment, but you're never unaffected at all by it. Like, no excitement, no nothing. And I started realizing in the weeks to follow after I found out I was pregnant, all I felt was concern. I didn't feel an ounce of happiness, an ounce of joy, an ounce of any of it. And it started bothering me because I couldn't figure out why. Why it was that I've always wanted a child. I always wanted a baby, and now I'm pregnant, and I have the person that I want to marry here now, and I thought all the pieces were fitting together, but I wasn't happy, and I just couldn't figure it out. I was so upset because I wasn't excited about having this child, and I started praying, and I just couldn't figure it out, and about a couple weeks into me finding I was pregnant, I saw a post from my aunt and uncle that they were planning to start looking for a baby through adoption. So, of course, once I see that, my mind is instantly racing, and I miraculously can't get that out of my head. So I decided one day to just drive. And I told Kenneth, like, this entire time, I told him what was going through my head. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And so I decided to go for a drive to Oklahoma City and back, and just pray and talk and figure it out. Well, during that drive, it basically came to me that one of the reasons why I wasn't, per se, feeling all the excitement and whatnot was because this wasn't the time for me. As much as I may want to have a child, it was such a bad timing. Because I had just had Kenneth finally settle down and make a decision about staying with me. And we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have much. And it was one of those times where it kind of hits reality of, am I keeping this baby for me? Or am I actually going to be able to take care of this child? And when that hit, it was the hardest thing because, I mean, I grew up with, I'm not saying my family was poor, but it was definitely the excitement of the week was going to Mazio's for their buffet on Sundays. And then some months we couldn't do that. It was that type of scenario. And it helped me be able to be humble and to not feel like I need everyone to give me stuff on a platter. But I didn't want that for my kids. I wanted to be able to homeschool my kids and not have to worry about if they want something, having to explain to them like my mother had to with me, because it was a different time. And I mean, I don't want to have to work. I don't want to have to deal with that. So there was so many things that went through my mind on that, and it sucked because, yeah, you can always hope and pray that people will help you, like here and there, grandparents especially, but that's the thing is I kind of wasn't raised to be supported by other people. I was raised to you support yourself or you don't have it. And as weird as it sounds, it's the same way with a child. I mean, if you can't support a child, you really shouldn't be having one. And I can't lie and say that I never even considered for 1 second abortion when I found out. But it appalled me so much. And people always assume that it was because I was ashamed I wasn't married. It wasn't. I was scared of bringing a child into that mess. And looking back, like, even at that moment, like, it turned my stomach sour. And that's one of the reasons why I've fought so hard to get people to understand and to acknowledge adoption is another way. You don't have to sacrifice the life of your child to have what you want. So, once I decided that abortion was not the case, and then I started thinking more and more about the whole adoption thing with my uncle, I went home and I talked to Kenneth and I explained everything to him. How I'd been feeling, my uncle, and different things, and I'm not gonna lie, we disagreed on it. And it was hard for both of us. We were living together at that point, and for someone who didn't think he could have kids, to find out that he was having a child who he also had wanted kids, it was a hard topic, and it still is to this day. And when it came down to it, I had to trust what God was telling me. So a week later, after I'd done another long drive of contemplating, he pretty much told me that it was my decision. That he would trust my decision and go with what I decided. So the next weekend I went for a long drive, and during that drive I decided to call my aunt, my uncle, and I told them I was pregnant. And then I told them, how would you like to adopt my child? And anyone who says, well, your body's never going to be the same, why would you go through this if you don't even have the reward? Hearing that kind of joy, it made it all worth it. So, we made the decision, or I made the decision, and Kenneth stood by me on it. Well, then it was the fun part of telling the families and people finding out. And I got ridiculed. I got thrown under the bus. I had people tell me that if they were in my shoes, that they would rather abort the child than let someone else have their flesh and blood. And that it was because of Kenneth's fault, because he wasn't supporting me, And it was all these different things were thrown at me through the most difficult decision I'd ever made. And I think the worst one was the families didn't agree. My family had gone through adoptions already. To this day, my mom will talk to me about it. My dad will not. And I don't blame him on that. But I made the decision I made, and it was the right one. And I had a lot of people attack me on that. I had a lot of people saying that I was sabotaging Kenneth's child. I was trying to steal away what he wanted. I had so many people try to step in and be like, I'll adopt the baby out from underneath you, and threaten so many different things. And it sucked. Because what people don't realize in this type of scenario, you hear all the time about how, like, surrogate moms and different things, like, at the end of it, they're like, I've been carrying this baby for so long, I cannot give it up. People were so worried, like, especially my aunt and uncle, they kept on checking up on me and everything, that would be the case with me. It's not, because my father pretty much, my parents and me agreed on it, that there is no way on this earth that I was going to tell my aunt and uncle something like this, and in 9 months back out. That if I didn't have the strength to do it, I should not say it. So, come hell or high water, it was going to happen. If I had to demolish every single person in front of me, it was going to happen. It didn't help that I was ridiculed and attacked and treated the way I was through one of the hardest things I'd ever gone through. It was terrible feeling him move and not being able to openly express just how happy it made me to people, because I didn't want to hear them say, well, why don't you keep him? Because people didn't grasp the concept of it wasn't about me. It wasn't about me or my husband now. It was about that child. And I didn't want him to grow up in the middle of me and my husband working through things. I didn't want him growing up in a house that we couldn't support him. I wanted him to be loved and cared for and have anything his heart wants. So I broke my own heart in doing that. And that's why it took me a long time to forgive those who were negative about it. Because, quite honestly, it's the ones, I'm a very strong opinionated person when it comes down to abortion, but it's a stronger person to carry it out. You're taking the easy path and the weak path to do the abortion because you made a mistake. I made a mistake. I got pregnant before I was married. I got pregnant before I even planned on being pregnant. But instead of making my child suffer and not come to this earth, I chose to save him, to protect him, and to give him the ultimate gift that I could possibly imagine. And to this day, people still don't get the concept of it, because it's not a matter of he's my son and my aunt's son. He's her son. I'm his biological mother. And if he ever were to, in the future, when he gets older, decide to say something or ask me questions, that's up to him. But when people decide that they want to overstep and say that they're related to him in any way that's not according to what the adoption states. It's disrespecting what me and my husband went through. It's disrespecting all the pain I endured for that child to be where he's at. It's saying, you did all the hard work. You made the hard decision, but you know what? That doesn't matter. I'm having my way. And it's not... It's a very dangerous road to go on with someone like me because I'm not quiet. And I'm not subtle. But it's all new territory for a lot of people. My family just happens to be a little bit more used to it because we've had one with me. And to tie it kind of back to my story along with this one, we came to find out that my aunt had had a dream, or God talking to her 2 years prior to me getting pregnant. A year or two before. And God pretty much told her in 2016, sometime in March, you're going to have a baby. Now, this is after for years them trying to have a child, doing everything which way. And she got this. And when I told her that I was pregnant and what the due date was, it was March 17th, 2016. We're all kind of like, what? Because it matched up so well. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, how can you deny that? How can you deny God's workings and God's plan for this child? And now, next month, well, this month, I'm recording this at the end of February, but in March, he's turning 2 years old. Can you say what? It's been 2 years since I had him. And let me tell you what, it's still kind of amazing to sit here and think, I have a baby. I had a baby. And what? He's been adopted. And let me tell you what, it's not easy. When I was in labor for about 40 to 43 hours, and I was exhausted. Physically, emotionally, mentally, every aspect, I was exhausted. And what people don't realize is when you're going through that, leave them alone. Unless, like, you're there to be there, leave them alone. And so we had a lot of people worried that we weren't going to sign the papers. Because in Oklahoma, you have to wait 24 hours for you to sign adoption papers after the mother has the child. So for those 24 hours, people were just kind of like high strung. Which, I mean, I get. I totally get it. Because a lot of people will back out. I just didn't. I wouldn't. No matter how much people tried to make me, I didn't. And it hasn't been easy. And I don't want people to assume that it's going to be an easy road. It's not, because you'll see posts, you'll hear about the child, and you'll feel that pang of, I wish I was in that moment. I wish I was the one doing that. But in the end, it's not a matter of what you want. It's in the matter of what's protecting the baby. And there is no greater gift I could have given him. I gave him a life with two amazing parents who love him and treasure him every single day and give him what I would not have been able to. And people can disagree with me till their heart's content, but it's in the matter of just shut up about it. You may not agree with me. You may not agree with the decision, but my husband entrusted me with that decision. because he knew I would make the right one. Maybe not the easy one, but I would make the right one. And it didn't help the process. So, that's the story of my little one. I'll probably bring him up in a few here and there. But I will close this out real fast with bringing this to a close. If you're pregnant and you're scared and you don't know what to do, it's not always smart to completely forget about adoption. So many children are wanted and needed for parents who can't have kids. There are some women who don't even want to have kids and they'll adopt. And when you come to that point where you made a mistake, and it may be inconveniencing, it may disrupt your personal life, it may disrupt your work life, it may disrupt your image. Are you really that pitiful to murder a child? Which it is murdering, and I people can fight me till their heart's content. It's murdering. Murdering a child so that you can be on your merry little way and act like it never happened. And not go the hard way. So many people in this day and age, they've taken that easy road out, and that's why we get a bunch of whiners and a bunch of people that are like, give me what I want. Because they've never had to pay the consequences. You get pregnant, you have a baby. That's just how it is. Now, I get stillborns. I get there are certain criteria that make it understandable. Still hard to comprehend, but understandable. But when you literally are just sleeping around and you get pregnant, that's your own damn fault. And you have to be mature enough to own up and say, no, this was my doing. I may not be ready to have a child, but I will make sure this child lives. And not every child has to go into DHS and all those things. There's so many families that want to have a child. And have that be your reasoning if I just don't want to bring a child into DHS. That's not going to happen. You can find a way. You have 9 months to figure something out. And I'm not saying I won't still be people's friends if they have abortions, but it'll change how I view you. It'll change a lot. And to kind of bring that also back, if you've had an abortion, do not remotely ever try to tell someone who is going through this kind of thing, adoption, that you know how they feel about losing a child. Even if after years you're now regretting it, do not. It's not the same. Because you got to pretty much sweep your mess under the rug. I will forever live with mine. My body will take years to get back. My hormones are out of whack. I mean, this is the harder path, and you have no right to say you understand if you've done that. So, I probably will talk one more episode about adoption/abortion with that, and kind of bring a little bit more attention to the things that go into it. But this was the story mainly of my little blessing, is what I like to say. It was a long journey, but it gets easier day by day, and he's a little sweetheart. He got to be my ring bearer in my wedding, and he's a little sweetheart, and I love him to death. So I'll continue this in another video. I don't want to make this video too long. So I hope everyone has a good day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.